All right, this is Meet the Speaker. I am Falicia Miller with Greater Purpose Counseling, and we are having a conference in September, so in like a month. And this is one of our speakers. Our conference is going to be in Carmel, Indiana at Faith Apostolic Church under, Matthew Ball, Pastor Matthew Ball and Pastor Josh Wilson. And we wanted to be able to introduce the different people who are going to be talking, because the whole point of this conference is ministers, music ministers, families, Sunday school teachers, volunteers, just people that sit in the pew. Y'all are dealing with some real things. And there is such thing as negligence of pastors and people in the pews and different things. That's a real thing. But there's also a lack of education that the pastors, the youth ministers, the music ministers, the pew people, the families, the Sunday school, y'all deserve to have some good training, because y'all are facing things that you've never had to face before. Parents and families are facing things they've never had to face before. And I mean, I'm facing things with my own kids where I'm like, what? They talking about what at school? Like, are you kidding me? So that is the core crux of why we created this conference, is we want to be able to help individuals understand things that the church community is just totally behind on, and just kind of catch everybody up. So then people are empowered, they're whole, they, are able to face things a little bit differently. And so one of our speakers, she also works with us at Greater Purpose Counseling. She's one of my favorite humans. And I don't say that lightly, because I do have some people I really, really like. And there's a lot of people I'm just kind of like, no, but Cassie is one of my favorite people. I've been able to watch her grow over the years and flourish and become this amazing, amazing human and walk right into the calling that God gave her and her talent. So she is going to introduce herself and what she does. And there may be noise in the background at my house because I have contractors that are here, and I have a lot going on in my house. So I'm going to hopefully pray everything is silent, but I also have my dogs in here too. So if it gets too loud, you'll see I will mute my stuff. Go ahead, Cassie.
I'm Cassie. I'm a therapist with Greater Purpose Counseling. And then I also work at an elementary school a few days a week doing school-based therapy as well. So yeah, I love working with kids, and I love working with families and helping families understand their children's behaviors and helping them figure out how to navigate the different seasons of life that their kids go through and stay connected and bonded as families.
I love that. I love that. What are you talking about this year? Because in the past, in case you didn't attend our conferences the last 2 years, we do have the videos for sale. All proceeds go to help send us to Rwanda, because we're going back to Rwanda to do conferences like this to help their local church and the nationals and stuff. In the past, Cassie's talked about attachment, which is also another topic that a lot of church people just don't understand. A lot of people who ain't in church don't understand the power of attachment between people and how it affects you in a lifespan. But this year, she's going to talk about some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what you going to talk about?
This year, I'm going to be talking about communication and the different communication styles between parents and children, and helping parents understand that your child is not your best friend. You have to have roles and boundaries in place, and also helping parents understand how God designed communication to be between them and their children. So it's going to be really fun. I, recently did this presentation at another church a few weeks ago and got a lot of good response from it. And one of the biggest things, I learned is, there are like there's several different communication styles between parents and kids, but there's 4 primary ones. And it was just interesting going through all of those and helping people to see like where they fall when they communicate with their kids, or which ones they related to the most, or how they even grew up in their own environments, like what communication styles their parents used with them.
that is something, even though I only work with, a small portion of kids now, I'm just really transitioning to all adults. That is something that is needed because there is a disconnect. There is gentle parenting. I respect gentle parenting to the extent of let's raise kids to recognize what their emotions are. Let's raise kids to help them navigate big things and be a safe space that they can come back home and be like, this was a bad day. This was something I'm feeling, all that kind of stuff. What I have a problem with is there is a lack of actual parenting happening, and people call it gentle parenting.
Yes.
Where it's like parents are on autopilot and they're letting this raise their kids. They expect the school to raise their kids. They expect the church and the Sunday school department to raise them. And they're not actually teaching their children conflict resolution. And some of the stuff that I see and I hear is where adults refuse to apologize for their actions. Adults refuse to ever own up and say, you know what, I was out of line. I shouldn't have done this. If I could go back and do this again. So they don't even model what they're trying to demand out of their children. And then another thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if you've seen this or like saw this in the research, is most parents struggle with how they're responding.
Yes.
And that's something like with one of my children, with my therapist, with, like working on some stuff, there was something something that happened. And I finally looked at them and I was like, I'm the jerk in this situation. Yes, you're being kind of jerky in some moments, but I'm the jerk because I'm responding because I have an unrealistic expectation of you. And I'm responding in a different way. Once I pivoted that thinking, we don't have the blow-ups that we were having. And so I don't know if you see that, but those are things I see all the time. And so how can your training with communication help Sunday school people, help parents? How is that going to help them?
I think especially Sunday school teachers, I think if they can understand the different communication styles, they can recognize how maybe they're communicating with the kids in their classes and look at, hey, how can I change communication in my class so the kids trust me more and they're more open and honest with me, not afraid to share their feelings because they're afraid they're going to get in trouble.
Ooh, that's a good one right there. How often do you see kids come in and parents are like, tell me everything, I'm your safe space. And the kid's like, yo, if I tell my mama that, I'm not just going to have a natural consequence for this choice, but they're going to kill me.
Yeah.
They're going to do something.
I see it happen all the time. There's one kiddo in particular I'm thinking of right now. She can communicate with her mom, but she's terrified to communicate with her dad. And her dad is not willing to see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's getting frustrated because she won't ever communicate with him. And I'm like, but you have to look at yourself and look at what your response is to her when she is trying to share with you her feelings. Because it's so important for kids to be able to share their feelings with us.
Yeah.
Because how else are they going to get their feelings and their emotions out if they don't feel they can tell as adults? They're going to take it out on the other kids.
Yeah.
They're going to self-harm. They're going to struggle with depression and anxiety because they never felt they had a safe place to communicate their feelings and their emotions.
Yeah. And also because the adult is presenting as perfect and never acknowledging and listening to what they're doing is harming somebody. And I don't mean like harming, like, abuse.
Yeah.
But just, you're not supporting them.
Yes.
Not building them up.
Yeah. So the kids need a safe environment where they can share those emotions and the parents can be like, okay, it's okay. You had a bad day at school today. Let's talk about it. and let's talk about what we can do differently tomorrow.
Yeah, that's something that I know that we see is the unrealistic expectations of behaviors
Mhm.
and, grades at school.
Yes.
Whereas, I get you need to pass, you need to pay attention, you need to be a good citizen class, you need to not be jacking around, right?
Mhm.
But I see people, because I hear the parents talk and then I know, there'll be kids. And some of the stuff that I hear and see is like, you can't ever get anything below an A.
Mhm.
You can't miss in these sporting events. Like you have to win every single game because you see that on the sidelines. You see these parents losing it because this tiny person didn't win the field goal. They didn't make the shot, and the parents like belittling them,
Yeah.
or like, how could you get a B? And it's like, man, let's celebrate that you got a B. Let's
Yeah.
get you a tutor. If you got a D, let's get you a tutor. Let's figure out why you have a D.
Yeah. B's and C's still get degrees.
You know, it's you're
Like,
still gonna pass.
yeah, because I think when we push our kids to make straight A's, we're pushing this idea of perfectionism onto them, that they have to be perfect. And then that's going to carry with them into adulthood and
Mm-hmm.
into future relationships and into their relationships with their own children. So it's okay if your kids get a B. It's okay if they get a C. Maybe sit down and figure out like, why are you getting C's? Where's the struggle and what can we do to help you if
Mm-hmm.
you don't like that you're getting C's? Like, and
You
some
mean help
kids,
the kids spend time with their kids?
yeah. And then some kids, they're just going to struggle in school no matter what you do to help them
Mm-hmm.
succeed. They're still going to, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it a failure. They're still succeeding.
yeah,
They're still passing. It's just they're maybe not doing as well as what you had hoped they would, and that's okay because
yeah.
some kids they're just going to struggle.
Everyone's gonna struggle somewhere.
Hmm.
You put too much pressure on somebody, you're gonna give them long-lasting effects that then we have to unwire in therapy.
Yes.
Yeah, but I did love that you said kids and parents should not be best friends. I hear that a lot from people. They'll be like, "This is my best friend." I'm sitting here like,
Mhm.
you've grown and that's a child.
Yeah.
Why do you not have an adult friend? Because that's not your best friend.
You can be friends when you're older, when your child is an adult.
Right. And even then, there's still certain things you're not going to talk about because
Exactly.
I'm still your parent,
Hmm.
But yeah, I see that all the time. And I'm like, you're just telling me you're showing the world you have attachment issues.
Yes.
You're showing either A, you have low emotional intelligence because you're identifying that a child is your best friend and you're not navigating towards adults.
Hmm.
There should be differences in interests. Yes, there's going to be similar things. You know, I love basketball. I got one kid who loves basketball, the other two do not. I got kids who like something and we'll do things together, but like it's crazy to me how many people I see, they're like, this is my best friend. And I'm just like,
Yeah. Our kids are not our best friends.
no, no. So what's the other thing you're going to talk about?
I'm also going to talk about technology and media and how it has impacted today's youth. Uh, because it's so important because, we are starting to see a lot of the effects of excessive excessive amounts of time on technology and social media. Like, there's cyberbullying, um,
Sexting.
anger issues that have come out,
Mhm.
as a result of all of this. And it's just having a long-lasting impact on today's youth and teens.
What do you think we're going to see because, okay, so did you ever read that book, Anxious Generation?
I have it. I have not started reading it yet.
That book, highly recommended. Anybody who works with kids, has kids, I highly recommend that book. But, I graduated from my undergrad in 2010.
Mhm.
And they talk about how in 2010, that was the pivot where we went from like the Nokia phones, the, Burberrys, the PDAs to the smartphones and the computers in the hands,
Mhm.
and everything changed. And what I see, and I've seen it with, I've seen it with my nieces and nephews. I've seen it with other people's kids, is I'm Gen X all day. All
Mhm.
day I'm Gen X. My group of people, we could sit down and have a conversation with somebody. We
Mhm.
could sit down and interact socially, look people in the eye, shake your hand right. Like, we can do these things. I can have a constructive criticism, like a critical conversation with somebody, and not walk away broken, and it's when I see these young kids, they're sitting next to each other, got their hoodie up, got everything on, they're like this.
Yeah.
And you go to have a real conversation with them, and they're like,
They don't know how to communicate because they've
they don't
got
know how to
this in their
communicate,
hands.
and I'm just not a big advocate of kids
Mhm.
having cell phones,
Mhm.
especially smartphones.
Yeah. And another thing I'll say is 5-year-olds should not have a phone. I
No,
see so many parents getting phones for their 5 and 6-year-olds. Like, you should not have a phone at 5 and 6 years old.
no. There's, and I understand divorced homes, you know, kids want to be able to communicate, parents want to be able to communicate. But if you're a divorced home, the two people have got to literally work on co-parenting.
Hmm.
They have to get out of their hurt emotions and do what's best for the kids, and really be compliant and supportive of, this is the time frame that we're going to do phone calls. I'm not going to stop my work day because it's convenient for you to call. We need to agree on times that the kids can talk, because we can't stop school, we can't stop work, we can't stop whatever. But I have seen parents who don't want their kids to have a smartphone, and they'll do some kind of a flip phone where it's
Yeah.
pre-dialed numbers, and it's like, one is mom, two is dad, three is grandma,
Mhm.
three is grandpa, so on and so on, to where that kid, like in the summertime after school, whatever, yay, they can pick that up. But have a landline,
Mhm.
have a landline. You want kids to have phone numbers. I just saw there's a school district, I've seen it on the news, a school district that is basically saying this year, it's not in Indiana, it was someplace else, that they're not letting cell phones in. You cannot bring a cell phone into the school.
Mhm.
And there were parents standing outside and was like, well, how am I supposed to get a hold of my kid? How am I supposed to know my kid's safe? If there's this XYZ, how am I supposed to be able to know that my kid's safe? And I'm sitting here like, they got phones in the office. Like, why did,
Yeah. And if
I don't
something
know,
happens, the school will reach out to the parent.
like it blows my mind that
Mhm.
this has now got to be the binky for children. And I mean, like, what would happen if all of a sudden satellites were no longer available?
Mhm.
This goes away.
Yeah.
And I'm not a conspiracy theorist or, hooga booga type people, but we have to have other ways that we communicate, because this is hurting human to human connection, because people are missing they're missing those natural, like, interactions at the bus stop. They're missing the natural interactions of communicating in the hallway at school. One of the things that book points out was, like, people no longer actually sit and communicate like in homeroom, because they're
Mhm.
busy doing this. They're too busy on social media
I
trying
even
to see if they have likes.
I even see it around the dinner table. At dinner
Mm,
time, mom, dad, kids all have their phone in their hands eating dinner and they're not communicating.
yeah,
They're not asking each other about their day.
yeah.
They're not asking
Restaurants.
what are the hopes and goals and dreams for the future. What was good
Yes.
about your day? What was bad about your day? What do you want to do differently tomorrow? Like,
Yes.
families are not communicating with each other anymore because they have these in their
Yeah.
hands, even around the dinner table.
Yeah.
After
That's
dinner,
a
everyone goes to their rooms and gets on their video games or watches TV, and they're not
Yeah.
even communicating even after dinner.
Yeah. I appreciate small houses because it forces people to be around each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we talk about in our house is like, no, you're not going to, this is not the time that you're going to go upstairs. This is not the time you're going to go in the other room. This is the time that we're all going to be here together.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to play this board game. We're all going to play cards. We're all going to cook together. We're all going to watch a movie together. Like, we're all going to sit in the same space,
Yeah.
and my kids will look at us like, you need to put your phone down. You've been at work all day. You've been helping other people. Daddy, you've been in the OR. You guys need to put your phones down. And I will turn my phone off and walk away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And even right now, like with all the construction that's going on in our house, and we're like up until 10 and midnight doing stuff. My kids we sat down to eat dinner the other day, and they all looked so sad. And I said, okay, what's going on? Like, school just started. Why you look so sad? XYZ. And they were just like, uh, we don't like how this is going on. This has too much attention for you. The
Mm-hmm.
house is not, you're not helping us. You're not talking to us. You're not spending enough time with us, and I was like, I hear you. But back to safe emotions, safe spaces,
Mm-hmm.
every single one of my kids were able to tell us really how they feel and cry and be upset. And like, I know this is what we're in. And I could have been all offended and like, do you understand? I was like, you're right. So now I have to make a plan and what we're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had to adjust. But I see parents who kids have their phones in their room at night and then they're like, they won't get up in the morning. Kids have their PlayStation in their room at night. They refuse to get up and go to school.
Yeah.
Like, to me, and I have this conversation with parents. I'm like, your phone, they shouldn't have their phone in their room. They shouldn't have a PlayStation. Their room should be electronics free. That stuff goes in your room at night.
Mm-hmm.
And they always look at me very confused. And I'm like, if your kid is up playing games all night, of course they're not going to go to school in the morning. But
No.
then who are they talking to at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. Exactly.
So what do you see in the school? What's some of the stuff that you see?
I see a lot of first graders I work with have phones. I see a lot of like third and fourth and fifth graders sleeping through class because they had stayed up all night playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
Their parents did not turn it off. Um, I even see kids not even knowing how to connect with their classmates because
Mm-hmm.
they're on their phones at lunch, at recess. They're just sitting there.
They miss
And
childhood play.
yes, they're not playing and connecting and doing stuff.
When kids don't play, they don't learn.
They don't.
Adults and teenagers can sit in a room and we can be lectured to, we can watch,
Mhm.
videos, but kids learn by doing.
Yes. So,
And
yeah,
doing is not on a tablet or a computer.
exactly. And so, yeah, kids should not, especially on school nights, kids should not stay up till 2 in the morning playing video games.
What is, as a school therapist and working with kids, what would you say is a big important thing that parents could learn or start implementing in order for their kids to be successful during the day at school?
Mm-hmm. I would say, take electronics away by a certain time each night.
Mm-hmm.
I'd also say, maybe put parental controls on your child's devices for sure. And even, there's tons of different apps out there that you can download that you connect to your phone and your child's devices, and it will show you all the activity your children are doing
Mm-hmm.
online, and it will alert you if there's any suspicious activity.
Oh yeah. What about bedtime routines?
Bedtime routines, I'd say, turn off electronics maybe an hour or two before bed. can bond with your kids, maybe pray with them before they go to bed, read with them, just something that helps you connect with them. Maybe spend time just having a conversation with them.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
One of the best things I ever saw, and this was years ago, and it's something that we implement in the house because I'm very conscious of it, is three of the most vital times in a kid's day. When you
Mhm.
wake them up, how they're woke up. Are they yelled at when they're woke up? Is it chaotic, or is it like, hey, let's wake up? Yeah, have about 5 or 10 minutes to really kind of like not to knock the sleep out of your eyes. Is it prepared? Is your stuff ready to go? Or is it like mad dash chaos, like, oh my goodness, I gotta get everything done in 20 minutes. But how they wake up, how they're talked to when they wake up, that sets the day.
Mhm.
It sets how they're going to get on the bus or ride to school, how they're going to think. The other one is when they come home from school. Do they have transition time? They've just been at school learning all day long. Do they have time to decompress before it starts homework, before it starts chores, before it starts, playing anything? But like, what does that decompression and connection time look like? And then the
Mhm.
last one is like going to bed. How are they set up for success to sleep through the night? And what is being said to them? What's being done? What's the environment of the home? Different things like that. I saw that somewhere and I was like, you know what? That's right. And that stuck. And so I'm very conscious of how I wake my kids up. I'm very conscious of, one of us being here when they get home from school and that transition time. And I'm very conscious of how the environment is before they go to bed.
Yeah.
And I see a difference.
Yeah, I think that's super important.
Yeah. So what is something you would like to tell anyone who's planning on coming to the Church Mental Health Summit that maybe has been on the fence and hasn't bought a ticket yet?
Mhm. I'd say, you'll learn a lot of great resources. You'll get a lot of great resources and learn a lot of really good information that you could implement in your own homes, in your churches, in your youth groups, in your Sunday school departments.
Mhm,
Um, and I'd say it's, definitely worth the money to come, worth the investment.
mhm.
Um, to just be able to take all of that back and be like, hey, I've got all of these great resources. Let's start making changes in how we do things in our Sunday school department at church,
Youth group,
in our youth groups.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's great youth teachers out there and Sunday
Mhm.
school teachers. There are phenomenal ones. And then there's other ones that I'm like, if you had some good training, you'd
Mhm.
be next level. And
For
that's
sure.
what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people because these type of skills are applicable all over the place.
Mhm.
And Cassie definitely knows what she's talking about when it comes to kiddos. She, especially littles, and just interacting. She is phenomenal.
Mhm.
So mark your calendars, September. What are we doing? Is it 28th or 29th?
I don't remember.
We haven't had caffeine yet, okay? So y'all forgive us. I'm in the midst of the chaos of my house. I have broken my coffee pot, so I need to go buy a coffee. And like my neighbor brought me a cup of coffee this morning, but like I'm gonna need some caffeine. So it's the 27th and 28th of September. It is Friday and Saturday, 9 to 5. All it is donations. So the donation, when you go into Eventbrite, it's ranked differently on what you want to do. If you want to do 25, 50, 75, or 100, that will cover both of the days per person per ticket. And that's a steal because normally we definitely charge a lot more than that. But this year we're going the donation route because our team is going back to Rwanda. And so we're going to go help a missionary there and the nationals, and we're going to take these kind of trainings of communications to the villages and to help the people of Rwanda. So it's a double blessing. So you don't want to miss this. This is cheaper than an hour of therapy. Just gonna put that out there. It's cheaper than group therapy, and you're going to get a lot of information. So God bless. Definitely click on the link below for Eventbrite. You don't want to miss this. Cassie, thank you. I'm super excited for your presentations because you are amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right.